Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the What Was That podcast. I'm Jazzy.
And I'm Addi.
You know, making friends isn't always easy. Some people, like our one hater on YouTube, don't have any, so they don't know what friendship looks like or chemistry. They just have no clue.
Okay, Jasmine, I'm gonna need you to take a breath, take a beat, just you know, one hater can't derail us and can't diminish of how wicked funny we are.
You are so right. I'm happy to have you.
You got a friend in me.
A brain is what you
got a friend in me. We'd get demonetized, not like you were even monetized, but
you're right. They'll be like, maybe. No. Actually, yeah. No friend in monetization. So, yeah, if you couldn't tell, this episode is Reddit stories around the theme of friendship. Some maybe a little bit better friends than others.
Not as good as us, though.
Not as good as us. You got to be careful with who you're friends with because they're not us. So
and they never will be us, YouTube hater.
Yeah, hater.
People, whoever listens, are gonna scroll through our YouTube trying to find this one
single mean comment we've gotten. Fuck you. Me, it doesn't even hurt my feelings. 3 weeks later.
That's so dumb. Don't even reply. It's not even worth it.
Not even 3 weeks later.
An entire episode about it. Makes every blooper in TikTok about it. That's so funny.
Charged of anything, it is being bitter and holding a grudge.
Just Leo things.
Yep. I'm Leo. I'm Sicilian. What do you want from me?
Sicilian. Just to throw in the fact that you're Italian. Italian.
According to my Nana, we're allowed to hold grudges forever because we're Sicilian.
Interesting.
So I will be taking that and running with it.
Story 1. My new friend turned out to be a cult leader. PSA. Guys, I think we've been found out. Oh my god, there have been 2 fucking 3, LOL, 4 new incidents since my original post. I've had to edit this bitch twice, 3 times now. 3. I have no words. Receipts at the end. Again.
I'm so excited for this one.
That's quite the intro. Okay. TLDR, I thought I was meeting a group of like-minded women, and instead, I just watched a cult take advantage of vulnerable people. Huh? So, this started as one of those meet new friend apps, like Bumble. Like Bumble BFF?
BFF, yeah.
I'm not just a huge loser, I swear. I moved to my current city during the pandemic and have a work-at-home position, so what hasn't been the prime circumstances for a social life. I matched with this random girl, we'll call her Annie. I can't remember if I saw her first or vice versa. Honestly, I was paying more attention to the profiles than the pictures, and she seemed okay. Spirituality came up somehow. I can't remember how this happened either, and to be fair, it could have been either of us. I've recently been more seriously following Norse paganism, but it wasn't something I was seeking to explore with other people. It's mostly a private thing, not to mention my own beliefs are more metaphorical. But that doesn't mean I'm closed to the experience entirely. So when she mentioned having an LGBTQ neurodivergent pagan femme coven, I was like, okay, wow, that's either very specific or very broad. But hey, why not? Maybe it'll be fun. So we agreed to meet first before I went to this event. One weird thing that stuck out in our text conversation was that her partner was in some bizarre Scientology rehab. At first, I assumed this was a place where one recovers from Scientology. LMFAO.
Okay, but same.
Scientology rehab, I would also assume, is
deprogramming.
But I did ask if her partner was a Scientologist. I didn't get an answer. We only met for an hour to have coffee. I think more red flags would have popped up if we'd had more time, because the little things that went off on my radar were things that weren't that weird. Like, there were explanations, or I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt, and my dumbass didn't ask again about the Scientology thing. I kept meaning to Google Scientology rehab, but kept forgetting to do it. I've since Googled it and can't find anything about a rehabilitation for ex-Scientologists, so I wish I'd done that sooner. There were, however, other things that stuck out. They're relatively benign out of context, but putting everything together in retrospect made me feel dumb. 1, she wouldn't answer any direct questions about herself, and not for lack of asking. I'm the kind of person who is conscious of when the attention is all on me, so it made me uncomfortable, and I didn't learn anything about her, really. Most of what she said had to do with her spiritual awakening. Her spiritual awakening itself sounded weird as fuck. She said that she had a realization that she was like a lighthouse, and she was drawing people toward their personal enlightenment. And okay, I did think this was weird, but like, she's from California. I don't know. Maybe that's normal. I just chalked it up to her personal beliefs being whatever they were. Reincarnation came up. Reincarnation is a big part of paganism, although Asatru additionally focuses on your ancestors. She told me she didn't think she had any past lives and is a new soul, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay. Whatever, not my circus, not my monkeys. The vaguely supernatural element she placed on herself was strange, but I know a lot of people want to feel special. That didn't mean I had to believe it. At one point, I told her about the random woman I met at a pagan festival who tried to con me. She wanted to charge me so I could be under her wing or whatever. I don't need someone to protect or guide me, so I declined. As I was telling the story, I could tell Annie was conflicted, like she wanted to agree but didn't. Finally, she said something blasé, like it was only inappropriate because the student should choose the teacher. So I clarified that I did not want a teacher. Her responses were very mirroring, and I'm not a moron. I was getting a weird sense that she wasn't being honest with me, that she was telling me things I wanted to hear, and told myself that she was probably just nervous. I have a strong personality. I'm very independent, so I can understand if someone wouldn't want to go up against the things that I said on our very first meeting. I know I'm just dumb at this point, but I didn't want to be paranoid. I don't trust people very easily, and I know that, so I was trying to loosen up and be more chill. Yeah, big mistake. Huge.
I was just thinking of that.
So I go to this thing. Immediately, it's weird. Y'all, immediately. The second I step foot in that house, I'm uncomfortable. It's filled with people and completely silent. Everyone is looking at me. I'm laughing and saying hi, and no one is like responding. LMFAO. And here I am, awkwardly dropping my keys and phone while everyone is just watching me. Eventually, I take a seat on the short couch because there's no room in the large circle. It's a very small living room, and there are like 20 people circled up. There's a cushion on the couch, so I sit on that. The leader starts talking, and as she's going on, I'm looking around at the people there. I was curious. Out of the corner of my eye, I see the leader trying to look at me. The girl sitting in front of me is partially blocking our view of each other, so the leader is like leaning over and trying to meet my gaze. Finally, I felt awkward enough to like shift over so that I was leaning against the arm of the couch. Staying perched on a fucking couch cushion was uncomfortable by that point, so I shifted off and spread out a bit to be more comfortable. The leader ended the speech with, "So spread out, I guess." Which was clearly directed at me. That's so passive aggressive. I'm uncomfortable. It was said with some humor though, so I wasn't sure what to make of it. Everyone introduces themselves and is their own unique brand of neurodivergent. I'm ADHD, but I guess I don't subscribe to labels beyond the requirement to stay medicated. I've been medicated since 2015, so this isn't a new diagnosis for me. That was the only question we got asked about ourselves, beyond our name. Huh? The leader guides us through meditation, and people are making these weird breathing sounds and hums. I get it. It's spiritual, right? Unfortunately, my ADHD ass can't focus to save my life, and it's impossible for me to follow the guided meditation. I do not understand how anyone with actual attention issues listens past trills and deep nose breathing. You breathing!
I'm leaving me breathing in. That's so funny.
So I'm sitting there with my eyes closed and barely paying attention because I can't. But I do hear the leader say that we should think of anything we'd want to ask her or need from her, and that got my attention. What the fuck did I need to ask her? other than where the snacks were because I paid $8 and don't see a single snack.
This person's so funny.
Once the meditation ended, Annie and the leader walked around to give us material for an activity. Annie gave me 2 long pieces of twine and the leader gave me 2 sticks. As the leader was handing me the sticks, I asked her where the snacks were. She was like in the kitchen on the table where snacks tend to be.
Okay.
I'm a dry, sarcastic person, so I thought it was her brand of humor. I laughed and played along and was like, oh, right, I think I'll find them. Literally, she was deadpan, unsmiling, and then walked away. So stupid me thought she might just be like that, but then I saw her laughing with the other girls and realized something was off. As the activity commenced, she went back over to Annie and started stroking her back, kissing her hair, and giving me this creepy smile. Yeah, it was weird. I was so uncomfortable, I wanted to get up and go, but I couldn't. Why? Because of this damn activity. The activity was the last straw. They wanted us to think of something we wanted to discard that brought us pain. Then they wanted us to feel how bad that thing would make us feel as we slowly twisted the piece of twine around the stick. That shit I would only ever do with my therapist. Obviously, people were emotionally melting down before long. I wasn't comfortable doing the activity for obvious reasons, so I sat there awkwardly with the sticks and string in my lap. I was the only one not doing it, and it was obvious. But because I wasn't doing it, I had the opportunity to watch Annie and the leader, and it was chilling. Annie was doing some weird pyramid thing above her head with her arms. There were a lot of references to her as being a lighthouse or some sort of guiding figure throughout the meeting. She was the only one who wasn't doing the ritual other than the leader. And you.
Yeah. 3 people.
They were both running it. Suddenly, it occurred to me, as it probably did to y'all already, that Annie had been using the app just to bring people into the group. She was the only person who seemed to know everyone, yet no one there knew each other. Even the name of the group now made sense. They weren't being specific, they were casting a wide net. And I had this big realization in a handful of seconds, and it made my stomach turn. So, yeah, I was done. But I couldn't get up because people were sharing their experiences and shit and pouring their hearts out. This was the most fucked up part of it, in my opinion. There's no reason to do a releasing ceremony that forces people to feel their trauma, especially at the very first meeting. It's also inherently manipulative because it requires people to let their guard down. Then they can save the day by showing people how to release the very same pain they just inflicted. But that wasn't the fault of the people there, so I didn't want to disrespect them. Like, people were sobbing on top of my shoes I left by the door. I had to wait for the best time to ask someone to pass them to me. Finally, I got up and told everyone I had to go to the car, then took off. I texted Annie and told her I wouldn't be back and that I hope she found her people. Just to make sure you're not her people. Be really careful of any spiritual ceremony or practice that demands vulnerability from you, especially directed by people who you don't know beyond a name. Annie, let's not, under any circumstances, ever meet again. And if y'all ever hear the term neurodivinity, run. Oh, okay. If ADHD made me divine, then I'd be on my 94th incarnation by now. This person is so funny. Yeah, we have a lot of updates, but let's unpack this first. Yes, you who wrote this, you know who you are. You are so fucking funny. The way you write these stories, like you literally write it like I would text my friend, and I love it. I love it because my brain immediately knows I stumbled like twice during that whole reading because I knew how to read. My brain's like,
this makes sense. This all makes sense. Yeah.
Write this down. No, that is so funny. I love the way you write it. But that's so fucking weird. That's neurodivinity. If somebody was like, come to my coven, it's called neurodivinity, I'd be like, oh, no. No.
First off, I mean, so I'd be like, lame.
No. Literally, I'd be like, what kind of fucking name is that?
Okay.
What the fuck? Like, what is so divine about neurodivergency? I feel like I'm fucking broken. Like, what do you mean? Neurodivinity.
Absolutely not.
But yes, the like trauma upbringing. My church camp, as we've talked about, when I was a kid, I went to this church camp in northern Texas, and it was like in the middle of the desert, in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's church camp. There are like 2 buildings in the entire property that have air conditioning, and they would do like late night devotionals and like early morning devotionals and like big fires where it's like you're like singing and praising the Lord and all that jazz. But they target trauma to manipulate you into thinking that like God is the one that can fix it, and if you just let all your problems go to God, you'll be cured.
Yeah.
So same sort of thing. It was like literally like 4 of the 5 nights out of the week, you're sitting there screaming and crying and like talking about your like deepest trauma as a child, talking about all these things that you've gone through to these church camp counselors,
strangers,
like, straight out of high school. Yeah. And that's like what makes you feel like you're part of the family, because you're like, oh my God, I was so vulnerable with you. And like, you know what I've gone through. So, so I can trust you, and I can trust that you have my best intentions because you know what I've gone through. And that's like exactly what these 2 women are doing is they're like, all right, spit them out.
Yeah. Give us your traumas. We're not going to give you anything. They're not participating at all.
No, they're just
like gathering the stories.
Come nerds. All these women are like,
yeah,
that was all of our trauma. You just fucking laser beamed it out of your hands.
Yeah,
that's the neurodivergenity. What virginity?
Not the virginity.
Divinity. Neurodivinity. Stupid fucking name. Who names it that?
I have such a strong aversion to cult. I think being raised in the church is why.
Yeah, so exactly. I'd be like, the same way. I'd be like, you're stupid.
No,
you're dumb.
I'm not going to that.
Yeah, it's really like good on you for trying to make friends. I have also in the past tried to make friends from like Bumble BFF and stuff. I hate it.
Yeah.
It never works. Kind of made a friend-ish. It was like a date, not a friend thing, but also a friend. I don't know. It was weird. I don't want to go into it. But it was super weird. But only weird experiences on there is like you meet somebody and you talk. I did have one friend I met when I lived in Austin off of Bumble BFF, but we don't talk anymore. Okay. So I don't know her anymore.
So not BFFs.
No, but... yeah, it's like everyone that you meet on there is like doing the same thing. They're trying to find friends, but like people are so different. Yeah. And it is really hard to find your like niche of people. Yeah. I need friends that I can be a little weird with. Well, these people are way. Yeah, I was like, these people are weird, but like in a weird way that like would make me feel like I'm gonna get drugged.
Yeah, I want to be like silly goofy.
Not like I'm going to have silly roofies in my drink.
And then we all sip the Kool-Aid at the end.
Yeah, literally everybody's laying on the ground with a white sheet over them. Wait, why are there so many sheets here? Yeah. Why do they all have eye holes in them? I can't go to that. Why are there points on the hat? What's going on? No, I would literally, I would have been so bad in this situation though, because I would have laughed.
Oh, I'm a giggler.
Yeah, I would have been, especially by myself.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like, you're by yourself, you go into this big group of people, you're already uncomfortable. Like, I would have like straight up like been like either nervous farting a lot. People would have like kicked me out. Yeah. So they'd be like, tiny room, I'm gassing that shit. Yeah. No need for Kool-Aid. Everybody's dead already.
Toxic fumes.
But yes, I would have just started like giggling my ass off, and they would have been like, leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I used to go to hot yoga.
Same.
And there was a woman, I didn't ever get to see her because she was always sitting in a different part of the room. And I don't know what yoga she was doing, because it sounded like she was really enjoying it. Like, really enjoying it. And I was like, okay, this is like downward dog. Like, what pose are you doing?
She's
like
doing
different
dog.
Where's the instructor? Like, what's happening here?
Oh, she's doing her doggy. She's different. And
so she would just like start getting into her practice, and I would try so hard not to laugh. And I told my friend about this, and he's like, no fucking way, no fucking way. So he goes with me to the next class. Sure as shit, we're doing a pose, and she's just like, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, no.
And I was like, no. I like start giggling, and I look over at and his face is just red, and with every ounce of his being, he's trying to hold in the laugh. And as soon as we make eye contact, we just bust a gut.
Bust a nut?
No, bust a gut.
Oh, yeah. Well, the ladies, you know.
The ladies, yeah, her nuts were busted, I am sure. The instructor comes over.
I almost peed.
The instructor came over, and she's like, we need to respect everyone's practice. Like, ma'am, she's having an orgasm in the front of the studio.
If you want to respect my practice, I'd rather have somebody that's not busting a nut in the studio.
Right, we're in a collective space. It's hot yoga. People are sweating everywhere.
You can smell it. The smell's getting in the air because it's all hot. You know that?
Yeah, there's fluids everywhere. We don't need juice everywhere, too. You know?
Dude, oh my God.
The last class I ever went to I was like, man, I'm like sweating a lot this class. That's like a lot.
Yeah.
It wasn't my sweat. Huh? It was the man next to me. Yeah, I realized it, and then I looked at him, and he realized it, and I was like, ew. I never went back.
Oh, I don't blame you. Yeah, no. Yeah. I would have laughed. I can't.
It was so wet, and I was like,
I'm just thinking about the lady fucking having a full-on orgasm while doing yoga.
Oh, yeah. So we got me laying in someone else's sweat, and then this woman having an orgasm in the corner.
How would you know if it's not that man's?
I wouldn't.
Yep.
I wouldn't. Nope. He's like, I love this class.
But yeah, I would have laughed really, really hard at this ceremony until people started crying, because that's when I shut down.
Then I would feel bad. I don't know what to say.
That's how I feel. I get really uncomfortable, and it's like, I want to be there. I don't know you. I don't know any of you. I want to leave.
Yeah.
I do want to know, like, what she meant by the Scientology, like, rehab.
Yeah.
Because that's fucking, what is that?
No, my thought process was the same as OP's through that whole thing of being like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, they're trying to like go back into normal life from Scientology because that shit ruins you.
Yeah.
Have you seen oh my God, there's like a really, really popular Scientology documentary. It's called Going Clear.
Okay.
And it's a documentary about Scientology, and they like get into Scientology and like Tom Cruise.
Oh my God, yeah.
The whole like history of Scientology and how they like manipulate so much of the world. And it's crazy. That shit is crazy. They'll make you sign a lifelong contract, right?
Okay.
So like, yeah.
Already.
So if you're like, if you're a part of their like group, essentially, like if you're like I can't remember what they're called, like one of their like higher ups, essentially.
Okay.
If you're joining like the Peace Corps, that's like essentially what it is. Like it's like you join their like group where you're like out doing stuff for Scientology for this purpose. You have to sign a like lifelong contract.
Okay. I don't know.
So, yeah. So if you try to leave, they can, like, sue you or come after you. There's people who have had their, like, babies taken.
Oh, my God.
It is insane. I highly, highly, highly recommend watching it if you ever are curious.
Yeah.
It's a super entertaining documentary. Going Clear.
Yeah.
It's on, like, Plex and Tubi.
What in the Rumpelstiltskin is that, you know? Like, what?
Oh, you sign a Scientology contract. Give me your baby.
Like, I don't know a lot about Scientology other than it's, like, batshit.
Yeah, it's insane.
So, like, who read Rumpelstiltskin was like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to get people. Give me that, baby.
Yeah, and...
the fuck?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Let's get into these edits. Okay, so edit number 1. Y'all, there's been an update. The girl who ran it texted me and I have the receipts. Don't worry, she got them certifications. It's also extra hilarious that she accuses me of projecting my trauma and insists that's why I took issue with her method. Then she had the audacity to apologize for the imagery or for the imaginary trauma she assumes I have. Also, I don't know why she thinks I actually did the exercise because I left behind the twine and sticks untouched. I did not participate or even try to think of a trauma to release. Because, to be honest, although there's some trauma in my past, I'm not haunted by it and have worked through a lot of it with a licensed therapist.
Love that.
The ad hominem attacks were silly to me. What is that?
Ad hominem. After homonym? Oh, ad hominem argument is one where someone relies on personal attacks rather than reason or substance. Like, your hands are small. And that's why your mom left.
And you're too short. And that's why your dad never loved you.
Ad hominem, bitch.
Okay.
Yeah, so cool.
Okay. Edit number 2. Oh my God, I am shaking this time. Y'all, I went back on the app because I had new matches and messages. One of them seemed normal at first. We were talking about video games, and then she asked me about Zelda. Zelda is my name on a lot of social media. People typically assume it's about the video game, but I'm actually weirdly obsessed with Zelda Fitzgerald. I'm a little nerd. Okay? I'm a lit nerd. Literary nerd. Sorry. Anyway, she said I would love to get together and hear more about what Zelda means to you. Okay. Seriously? Who talks like that? I'll give you 2 guesses, but you're only going to need 1. So I looked at her profile, 0 mention of spirituality. Finally, I asked, dreading the answer, and she is part of Annie's group. What's particularly hilarious was how vehemently the leader denied getting her members from that app, and yet the very next person I encounter on the app is in her group. I swear, y'all, I swear, I'm getting the fuck off this app. I'm deleting it off my phone. I'm getting an entirely new phone. I'm changing my numbers. I'm going to space. Fuck new friends. Edit. Third edit. For fuck's sake, someone throw me into the sun. That's why you're a literary nerd right there.
Throw me into the sun.
I'm going to start using that for everything.
Yeah,
Instead of my 13th reason, I'm going to say throw me into the sun.
Yep.
I'm jumping off the roof. No. Throw me into the sun.
Throw me into space so I can freeze and then combust when I reach the sun.
Annie responded to me, "There's nothing like waking up to a bunch of deflected personal attacks in the form of love. The funny thing is, the essay she sent me is responding to things I said in the posts, not to her. My text to her makes no mention of a lot of things addressed, as you'll see. I honestly don't know why she thinks I feel slighted by her, as that's not something I ever said. Also, can someone Peruvian tell me if that's a ritual or if that ritual is a real thing? I don't want to discount it offhand because that's disrespectful, but I also want to know if this is more white woman shamanism. But a lot of her message is an outright lie. There was no sharing rituals or personal ideology. They just wanted to know our neurodivergent label. Do I have ADHD magic? I don't get it." Then she launches into some sort of spiritual lesson out of nowhere, so enjoy that. I refuse to suffer alone. Also, the message was so fucking long that my phone had to open a whole new window. A lot of what Annie shared relates to her partner, which I don't feel right sharing, so I'm going to be redacting a lot. But seriously, the certainty she has in her gifts is ironic because turning the blame around on me indicates a lack of integrity. Demanding respect for your shamanic rituals isn't how you get it. But guys, I'm pretty sure they found us.
We've been found.
Okay, this is the last edit, and then we can look at some of the comments because OP was like super active in the comments.
Yeah.
And they're super funny. So, all right. Hi, another edit. I was contacted over Reddit by someone in my city, and here's the conversation that transpired. Apparently, they're also advertising the group at network events, not just through friendship apps. It's disturbing that the only 3 names I can recall are the same people the user encountered. The leader, whose house it was, Annie, and then the second leader, who is rude. All 3. This was shared with the user's permission, by the way, with names redacted for privacy. There's something rotten in Reno. Somebody asked if they got snacks and said, just hope there was no Kool-Aid to wash it down with. And they said, I got no snacks.
That's
not
so rude.
one.
What did you pay $8 for?
I was about to say that's something I forgot too, is like, why did you have to pay for that?
Right.
Why are you paying to go to somebody's
for sticks and twine?
Yeah, to go to somebody's house for a ritual? Like, that's so weird.
Sounds like a real store brand amateur cult attempt. People keep getting the lighthouse wrong. You're supposed to steer away from the lighthouse or end up on the rocks. Thankfully, you got it right, OP. Them's to be avoided.
Okay, so OP does link the screenshots in here, so I'm going to just do a quick little recap on here. Okay, so the first text is during the first edit when Annie first texted OP and said that they have the certifications or whatever. Okay. Good morning. Blank said you left last night because you felt someone was being rude to you. I just want to clear anything up that you may have experienced. I know our meeting at the door was a little awkward and I was in a social freeze mode being around so many new and powerful women. I hope that my own internal struggle wasn't interpreted as being rude. I am sad to hear that you had a bad experience and felt disrespected. If this was about me in any way I showed up in your eyes, I would love to clear the air and meet for tea to connect in different setting. If it was someone else, I am open to supporting you and understand what occurred so that this doesn't happen in our circle again. Sending lots of love. Also, thank you so much for the gift bags. They're beautiful. Hi there. Honestly, I don't even know if that person was you. It was whoever did all the speaking. They were on blank right. But honestly, that isn't the only reason I left. The releasing ceremony was fucked up. You asked people to let their guard down on the very first meeting. I'm sorry you had a negative experience. I have over 10 years of experience and extensive training in trauma-informed facilitation and ceremony and shamanic arts. I am aware that the harm that can be caused by improper facilitation, and I do everything possible to be aware and prevent that from occurring. So you are wrong about it not being a space full of people who are not trained. I have college degrees and a whole pile of certifications in trauma healing. This is a wall of text. Obviously, we showed OP's user, so if you want to look at the story yourself, there's another one with the entire wall. Okay, well, we won't read that because that is so long. Oh my God. Do you see that?
It's so much.
Dude, if I got a text like that, I'd be like, no.
I'm not reading it.
I'm not even reading it. I'm not even reading. I don't know you.
We're not friends.
Why am I reading it?
Glad you escaped.
I'm glad you escaped too.
Escaping the cult. Story 2. Creepy camper at Canadian campsite. Fair warning, this is a slightly long and slow burn, but 5 years ago, I still get creeped out thinking about this encounter and whether it could have ended differently. So sorry, there's no TLDR. This occurred a few years ago in 2019 whilst my partner and I were taking a road trip across British Columbia, Canada. Canada. We rented a car from Vancouver and we're just making our way towards Banff up to Jasper, then back towards Vancouver via Whistler. a little anti-clockwise? Anti-clockwise? Yeah.
Anti-clockwise? Is that...
Counterclockwise?
Yeah,
Is that what we're
counterclockwise.
going
Maybe
for?
that's just a fucking Canadian thing.
Sounds like the Antichrist of clocks.
I'm like,
Yeah. We will not keep time. Time is not our master. Okay, anyway. In a little counterclockwise loop. In all, we traveled for around 5 weeks total, sleeping in the national park campsites or rest stops along the way. One evening, we arrived at Provincial Park Campground where we intended to stay the night. It was a nice, easy spot next to a lake with a large parking area, many benches, and a wooden shelter, but far from any civilization. There were already a few people there with motorhomes and caravans. We were the only ones with a tent. We arrived before dark, set up the tent, sharing a few polite greetings with the other campers. There was one guy in particular, an old chap, I would guess to have been in his late 60s, with a motorhome who was very friendly and chatty, but a little too chatty. He noticed our coffee pot. Maca
pot. Yeah.
Can you tell I don't go outside?
A maca pot is one of those like coffee pots that like has the base that you put the water in, and then like there's like a little filter in the bottom part with the coffee grounds, and then it boils up into the bottom part, and then you pour it. So like the metal looking one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's cool. He noticed our sick coffee pot with us and mentioned he had a 5K bag of coffee beans in his motorhome if we wanted some, though he followed up by saying that he didn't even drink coffee because he didn't like the taste. He persisted in offering for us to come to his motorhome to get some beans. This sounded a little odd. We politely declined. He eventually left us. We got our tent pitched and went to prepare dinner in the on-site shelter. My partner and I shared a few glances to each other. Clearly, neither of us felt particularly comfortable around this guy, but perhaps he was harmless. We kept our eyes open while we were cooking and noticed he wandered off towards the lake, presumably for a walk. While we were eating, we spotted him returning. Trying to avoid being seen, we just avoided eye contact and paid attention to our dinner. Unfortunately, he spotted us and wandered over. Despite us being partway through eating, he began chatting with us. Being the type of people who never want to be rude or offend, we politely returned the conversation, nodded, and ate. I don't remember the whole conversation, but a couple of things stood out to us. He asked questions about our relationships. Were we married? Did we live together? Did we have children? Do we want to have children? Some questions bordering on being a little too personal. It could have been considered innocent coming from a relative or a friend, but this coming from a stranger, we just felt uncomfortable undertones to his questioning. He noticed we were drinking water with our meal and asked if we drank Coca-Cola. He mentioned he had a multi-pack of Coca-Cola cans in his motorhome if we wanted some, though he said he didn't drink the stuff himself. He again persisted in inviting us to his motorhome to take a couple cans. We politely declined. At this point, my partner and I were sharing glances. We noticed that we both felt totally uneasy around this guy and quickly finished up dinner. Made our excuses to get up and leave, realizing he wasn't going to leave us alone, so it was easier for us to leave him there in the shelter. We cleaned up our cooking stuff, packed everything into our car, and prepared the tent for the night. Whilst doing so, he approached us again on his way back to his motorhome, again inviting us to get some Coca-Cola or join him watching TV if we wished to. Again, we politely declined. At this point, the lights were fading, so we took ourselves down to the lake for a quick walk, brushing our teeth as we washed, rubbish bag in hand to dispose of in the bins at the bottom of the car park. As we approached the bins, we noticed a large shadowy figure leaning into one of the bins. Startled by our presence, it jumped down from the bin onto all fours and ran to the tree line. Both my partner and I froze. There was no mistaking it. The large cat-like silhouette and long, slender tail. We just interrupted a mountain lion foraging through the bins. Thankfully, it was more afraid of us and had made a run for the trees before we even realized what we had seen. Startled, we both turned back and fast walked up the hill, agreeing that we would sleep in the car for the evening. Not knowing whether that mountain lion would have been lurking nearby beyond the tree line or not, we decided not to chance it.
Yeah,
Ew.
that was
That was like
wet and one.
I didn't like that I did that. We reclined the seats, locked the doors, and slept until morning, thinking of the close encounter with the mountain lion, having put the creepy old camper in the back of our minds. In the morning, we woke early before anyone else, packed the tent, and got the hell out of there, heading for whatever town was next on the map, relieved to have left the entire scenario behind. We didn't bump into either the creepy old guy or the mountain lion again. Continuing on our journey, we wondered perhaps if we had misread the whole situation with the creepy old guy, but I like to think that our intuition is pretty good and both of us sensed there was something off. Later that day, I received a call from my brother back home checking up on us and making sure we were okay. He had seen on the news that there was a manhunt underway in British Columbia after a series of killings earlier in that week, and naturally he was concerned for us. As it turned out, there were 2 guys on the run after murdering 3 people further towards Alaska. The suspects didn't resemble the old guy we met anyway, but it did make us wonder what his intentions were. Thinking back to the experience, we wonder if we overreacted, whether this was a creepy camper or just a harmless grandpa looking for some company and conversation, or perhaps we were fortunate and avoided a much different fate. Trust your gut if something doesn't feel right. Thanks if you made it this far. Curious to hear anyone's thoughts on the situation and whether we should have handled it differently.
Oh, this poor old guy.
It all goes back to Dale and Tucker, doesn't it?
This poor old guy. Yeah, no, Tucker and Dale. This old man's just like out there by himself. He's probably so lonely.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's like, you want some coffee beans?
He's like, I don't drink them. My wife did, but she died.
That's what I imagine too.
He's like, I have all these coffee beans because she was supposed to be traveling with me, but she died of cancer 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I'm going on this trip.
It was her dream.
It was her dream, and she's in the RV right now. Her urn is in there.
Yeah.
She's traveling around with me, and I just need some time with somebody. Oh,
If this isn't the case, we would have gotten murdered. For sure.
Yeah.
Because I would have been like, okay, Earl.
Yeah, I probably.
Like, do you get Ghost Adventures? I'd love to watch that.
Yeah, right? Do you get HBO out here?
Have you ever watched Sex and the City? I think you'd love it.
That's for the housewives. How do you feel about that? No, I do. No. I literally, I would have gotten snatched because old man, he probably
yeah. Well, okay, and it also doesn't help that my grandpa 1,000% lived in a camper by a lake for a long time. And he loved it, and I'm pretty sure he did just go around yapping at people. And he has a very strong Southern accent. He has a bit of a stutter. So I could see how he would be Tucker and Daled. Yeah, because they're like, there's a series of murders that were close by, but they didn't look like this guy anyway. So yeah, probably
it does not relate, but I do understand being creeped out by it. That would unsettle me. I don't know. I don't know exactly how I feel like in person I might react the same way.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't know. I would be kind of troubled by this too because it's like
I don't want to come to your camper van.
No, I don't want
we can chat, but I don't want to come into your
But it would also be the same thing as they were chatting. They were talking to him. They just didn't want to go to his RV, which is fair, I feel like. And I would probably get really annoyed if somebody was actually, I have been. I stayed at a campground in Washington once, and it was this lady lived on this property with her boyfriend, and she made sure she was very clear about that. They'd been together for 12 years.
Okay.
And she was in her upper 50s, I would say. I don't know. She definitely had done a lot of drugs, which I'll explain. But we pulled onto her property. I was in a minivan. She came out and greeted us. She had different campsites on her property and a teepee and stuff like that. But she was like, my boyfriend is a scientist and he's inside, he builds stuff, tinkering. He's a tinkerer. Okay. And I was like, method? Immediately. Yeah. And there are parts and stuff scattered around in front of their house. It's not a well-kept area, but it was a cheap camp spot. And I just wanted to pull my car up somewhere and because I was sleeping in my van. And I was sitting out by the little stream, hanging out. It was raining. It was in Washington, so it was really nice. Sitting by the stream, enjoying the perks of being in Washington. And she comes out of nowhere. Granted, when we first pulled up too, she was yapping.
Okay.
Lots of talking. She liked to talk. She needed a friend.
Yeah.
So, we chit-chatted. It was nice. And then it was like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And the next day we were sitting out there hanging out, and she comes and we see her start walking out from the house, coming towards our van. And she literally comes over and she's like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, just hanging out, and like the back of the van is open because there's like a little river, and we're just like hanging out.
Nice.
It's nice. And she's like, oh, and she like literally doesn't say anything else, turns around, plops her butt into the trunk, and then like turns around and sits like fully inside of my van, like in the back where like our little bed is, and just sits and then like reaches over.
Gimme.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. And handed it to her. And then she proceeded to sit there for almost like 2 hours telling us her entire life story.
Oh my God.
How her dad was which you'll have to quack out. How like she spoke fluent German because of it. And she like her son got shot because she sold drugs, and she did a lot of drugs, and like insane, literally just like mouth agape the whole time. I was like, I don't know you.
Right.
Like
you just came up to my van. Like,
yeah. So it was like that. We stayed there for like 3 days. And then finally I was like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
We gotta go. Because every single time we were out there, she came out and she was like, hey,
yeah,
how's it going? And
yeah.
it's like, oh my God, please leave us alone.
Go away.
So I could see how that would be pretty annoying, especially if you're like out camping and you're like, I just want to be by myself. Can you go the fuck away?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know. I do. Part of me is like, I feel like this is just like an old man who he probably did something happened.
Yeah.
And that's why he was out. And
he's just trying to socialize, but isn't doing it.
Is not doing it the right way. He's a 6-year-old man.
Yeah.
Like.
This one comment says their grandparents and other old people will keep things that other people might like. So when they do have guests, it's like, oh.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Especially older people. But yeah, my grandparents are the same way. Like if they're like going out and doing stuff, they always keep some extra stuff in their house, even if they're not going to use it.
Yeah, just
I do that here.
You do that here.
Yeah, I have a ton of stuff that I keep because I like when people come to my house and I want to have things that other people might need, but I don't.
Yeah. I don't even have things I need at my house, so do not come to my house. My doormat says,
"Don't come to my house."
Like it's like, go away.
Okay. Yeah. I thought we were friends. But yeah, I definitely like. He either has those because he wants to have things for other people, or because his wife or partner died and they really liked it.
Yeah.
And like,
he
can
still
you
has
imagine if he was like, I have this 5-pound bag of coffee beans and it was my wife's favorite coffee and she's never going to use it again.
Oh my, and he just starts sobbing.
I wanted to go to somebody that's going to use it.
I would just cry. I would drink all of that coffee instantly.
Yeah, right. I'm just sitting there like grinding beans all night, sweating. I'm like red in the face, shaking because I've had so much fucking coffee. But yeah, that's a hard one because you never know.
One or two options.
And you can never be too
or creepy old man. Either which way.
Yeah, and you can never be too careful. And if he is a sad old man, you don't want to go to his RV and then he starts like crying and then you can't get out of it.
You leave that situation. You're just like, oh no. There. Here's some sticks and some twine.
Tell me about your trauma. I'm gonna do some comic on my house above my head while you do it. Well, I think you did what you could. The fucking mountain lion is crazy.
Wild.
Yeah. I would also sleep in my car if there was a fucking mountain lion in the trash. I'd be like, no.
Yeah, no. I'm not going to give you the opportunity to get me.
No. No, I will
Neither
not.
you nor the
this
old man.
Which one is worse, being trapped in an RV with an old man who's crying about his dead wife, or being attacked by a mountain lion? Story 3. Someone impersonated my sister and invited me to the shadiest part of Los Angeles. Last year, I started law school in LA. I have never lived in a big city before, and I was really excited to be in a massive city with over 4 million people. Ew. Ever since I was little, I always knew I had a half-sister in LA, but my parents had this weird anger toward her that always made it feel like a taboo topic. Of course, I had looked her up on social media and I knew what she looked like, but that was about all. We had never actually met. She was never that active on social media, so there wasn't a lot I could see. Out of nowhere one day, in my first year of law school, I got a friend request on Facebook from my sister. Her profile seemed legitimate. She had Facebook friends, and her profile picture looked like her. She sent me a message inviting me to a dinner party at the park with her friends. We could finally meet each other for the first time. I was new to LA, still am, and I had no idea which parts of the city to avoid at night. I was so excited about that idea, but I had a lot of anxiety about it too. It would be nice if we met, totally clicked, and became besties for life. But what if we ended up sobbing like we were in some dramatic movie scene? What if I tried to talk to her and she just didn't click with me, and she started showing me an attitude? Or worse, what if it's all going well until we have some sort of disagreement and someone said something hurtful and then we're both crying in front of everyone? Honestly, if she had suggested a cozy little bakery for desserts instead, I would have gone. But going to a park with other people didn't feel right. I thought it was like such a precious moment that I didn't want to have in front of all these other people. I couldn't bring myself to go. I didn't want to risk having a meltdown in front of other people. I was worried about how messy it could get. A few weeks later, I Googled that park just to see what it was like. Maybe we could meet up there together, just one-on-one. That's when I learned something was wrong. I won't say the name of the park, but anyone who has lived in LA for long will tell you that it's not a safe place for girls to have a dinner party at night. The area surrounding that park has very high violent crime rates. It's controlled by gangs. Even people who do illegal business in that park are forced to pay a tax to the gang exchange for being left alone. So now I was really concerned and curious. I actually tried to get a hold of my sister herself. She said she was an undergrad at the time at a local college. I had a friend who went to her school. I asked my friend to reach out to her on campus and ask her if she would be okay with meeting us. They connected, and the three of us met at my friend's house. It was great. We got along so well. My friend was also very happy to do that for us. The three of us had so much fun. We weren't bursting in tears, but we let out a few. We had dinner, we watched a movie, and we spent the night at my friend's house. Cute.
That's so cute.
When I told my sister about the whole thing, she said she hadn't used Facebook since high school, so clearly someone was impersonating her. I would have told her to report the fake account, but it had already been deleted. She knew she had been impersonated on social media, though. Another one of her friends had been scammed by someone pretending to be her. It was some scheme involving a fake concert ticket or something like that. Someone had been impersonating my sister. They knew I was in town, and they literally tried to lure me into one of the most dangerous parts of LA at night. I had no idea what their motives were. I don't even want to find out. Meeting my sister after all these years was a beautiful thing, but the whole backdrop was terrifying. That's crazy.
So I'm glad you got to meet your sister actually.
Yeah.
And it went super well. Yeah, I think if they went through it on social media, they wouldn't have met their actual sister.
Yeah.
You know?
They definitely would have met not someone good. Not someone good. My ex's half-sisters lived in LA, so I've been to LA quite a few times. And obviously, just like everywhere, there's a lot of rough spots, but there are some rough spots.
Yeah.
So going to this park, I wonder what park it is. I don't know because I'm not from LA, so I don't. What?
MacArthur Park. The comments definitely this one. The other comments are yeah, I know exactly which one you meant.
That's so funny. Glad you're okay, OP.
I'm so curious as to who that person was and how they knew how to get to her.
Yeah,
I was oh yeah, sisters, so happy to see you.
Yeah, no, that's super weird.
And the fact that they knew they hadn't met. Because if it's some rando off the street who goes to a Facebook profile, and I guess if you have like your family listed, they could see that you're siblings.
Yeah.
But I don't think they would know any backstory into that unless they're like, hey,
Yeah.
come over here.
Yeah, that is super, super interesting because it had to, like, oh, God, that's weird. Like, to know that was your sister, that you were in grad school in LA, that you had never met, and that you wanted to meet, and that's, like, because, like, they reached out to you first.
Yeah.
So they would have had to know all that information before reaching out to you. So it had to have been somebody that you knew.
Yeah. This one person is saying, what if it was your sister?
Bruh.
So it's like you don't actually know her that well and your parents don't like her for some reason. Think about it and at least be careful before you know her better.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because like it, you know, like you could have had a nice time, but you don't know her. And yeah, you should definitely like ask your family about it and see what they have to say about it, what their thoughts are. Because that is super bizarre that she was trying to, she or somebody that knew your exact situation. Because it's not just like some random person. Like some random person doesn't know that this is your half sister that you've never met and that you're trying to meet. Like that's like, this is so specific. And like, obviously the intentions were so malicious because like for your sister to be like, that was not me.
Yeah.
If it is her, that's like an admission of the malicious intent. If it isn't her and it was somebody.
Who is this person and how do they know these things?
Yeah, because that's trying to get you to a park at night that is like known for being dangerous. That's.
Yeah.
That's.
I wonder, well, this was only a few months ago. This wasn't, that long ago. So I wonder how it's going. Hopefully well. Hopefully you did become besties for the resties.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if this is like OP only has a few like posts too. I mean, this is their only post, and then they just have like comments on this post. So OP, update us if you know any other information at this point.
Yeah.
If your sister is actually the person that you thought she was, if your parents know anything, any information, let us know because we're so curious. Because this obviously was like something that's not the right.
Something strange. Yeah.
Something's weird. Somebody was trying to go for you.
Yeah, it feels very targeted.
Yeah. No, that's super, super weird. Did you ever go to the park just to like drive by it and see what it looked like? I am curious though. Like, what if they turned it really nice? I mean, obviously not because the Redditor commenter or Reddit
they're
comments.
like,
no, bad.
Do not go there.
But yeah, that's super, super interesting. I'm very, very curious.
Yep.
Please update us. Please let us know. I'd like to know.
Update us. We'll update the people. All of our followers are dying to know.
We're all dying to know.
Yep.
Not dying because we didn't go to the park. So
yeah, we're living to know.
Yeah. Well, is that it? Are we done?
Yeah. Well, how creepy was that? Making friends isn't easy, so I think I'm just gonna stick to our friendship. I don't need any more. I'm good.
Well, our followers could be considered friends. So what do friends do? They share. So make sure to like and share and comment and spread the word with your friends. Yes. You can follow us on TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Good Pods, whatever. All of that is going to be what was that _the pod if you need it, like Reddit and stuff. But Spotify is just like what was that with the 2 question marks. Same with Apple and stuff. All the streaming is that. And then if you want to email us and send us your own stories, that is going to be what was that thepod@gmail.com. And be a good friend and support your besties at the What Was That podcast. And we will chat with you. Wait, what was that?